Okay, good morning, friends. It's Cliff Jones back with another episode of Cliff's Corner. This episode is going to be relatively short, where I'm going to be giving you a live improvisation using my COPET method, the composer-oriented piano expression and technique method. For those who don't know, who haven't been, following what the COPET method is, it's a method that I used myself between the ages of 14 and 17 years old as a self-taught pianist, classical pianist, where I taught myself how to play piano through the means of storytelling, right? Another thing that I did before was I would look at classical pieces, let's say it's Mozart, and I would analyze how these different composers structured their music, what techniques they were using. Let's say if it was scales, arpeggios, octaves, different things like that, and I would compose using these different type of techniques based off of my own storytelling. So I would tap into emotions that or stories or things that I have personally been through, or I would create my own story based off of whatever scale I'm working on and things like that, and it helped my technique to improve much better, so that by the time not only my technique, but also my artistry as a pianist, which is the most important thing that I teach to my students and things like that, the importance of artistry over your technique. So that by the time I took lessons, when I was 17 years old, I had some good solid foundational technique, but more importantly, my artistry was well on its way. And that's one of the first things my own classical piano teacher, Miss Delilah, told me in our first lesson, that she could tell that I felt music. And she expanded upon it, all that. Anyway, so what today's improv is about, maybe this is a few years ago, I was teaching group piano at my job where I'm currently at, and I came up with this melody, right? And it was like little kids, they were between the ages of 6 and 7. So this melody, right? So I kept hearing it, right? And it's based off of actually Big Sean's song, what's the name of that song? Let's reminisce on the good times and the bad. Whoa, 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 whoa. The Memories. It's called Memories Part 2 of his first album. Oh my gosh, I forgot the name of it. But yes, I always, that's like one of my favorite songs by Big Sean. So I expanded upon it. If I play it for you, it goes like this. About like different things that he's been through, really heartfelt song. So I'm basically using similar chords, but I'm changing it, and I came up with the melody, la 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 la. And I remember when I was teaching that class to my 6 to 7-year-olds, I had them sing la la, but I was playing the chords. La 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 la, right? And then years later, I ended up sampling their voices, and I made my own beat off of it, but it wasn't the best, so I never really released it. So today, I'm going to be using these same chords, using the COPET method, which I'm going to dive into in a second, and I'm going to just be improvising over these different chords. Now, COPET method, composer-oriented piano expression and technique method. When I hear these types of chords, when I hear these different type of chords, it reminds me of something like as if I'm reminiscing on my journey. Like I've reached my pinnacle of success, right? And now I'm at this pinnacle of success, and I'm just now reminiscing on all the ups and downs that I had to go through as a classical pianist, as a piano coach, as a business owner. And I reached that pinnacle of success where everything is cool, everything is good. And now I'm sitting in my penthouse, right, in New York City, and I'm just reminiscing all the times, all the things that I've been through. So if I'm depicting that, and I'm remembering all the journey, if I'm starting off, everything is going to be soft. have the story. Now, this is where I'm going to improvise. Here we go. What size of hip hop feeling? Oh, that's so beautiful. It's so much fun to do. So what you heard was a mixture of jazz elements, definitely hip hop influence, and a lot of classical elements. All these different octaves that you see right there is definitely heavily influenced from my own classical background of now going on 24 years. I can't believe this, right? But yeah, that's me improvising using my own COPET method, and I'm showing you not just like the importance of storytelling and the importance of artistry, right? Because it's easy to understand the importance of artistry as a classical pianist, as a musician in general, right? And the importance of storytelling. But also, if you know how to match your storytelling with, of course, your technique, but also your where you're playing on the registry of the piano and dynamics and push and pull of tempo using rubato, right? It makes your storytelling, aka your artistry, 3,000, 500,000 times better as a musician. And that's what I always strive to my people that I teach, my students, my coaching programs, and my school community, that it's always about your artistry, not necessarily about your technique. The technique is going to come as long as your artistry is fueled by it, right? And then also when you are doing these different type of things, when you're composing, right? Knowing the registries of the piano is so important. Knowing that you can get a different type of story when you play something like this versus when you play here, or if you play whatever you want to do, right? So when you have all of these different things at your disposal, the ideas are endless. The possibilities are endless. There is no ceiling on your roof, right? There is no sky. The sky is not the limit. There's beyond that. There's no limits to what you can do as a musician. You pair that also with great, solid foundational technique, not just drilling scales, but creating with these scales. Let's say I see somebody, matter of fact, let's say I see a sunrise. If it's sun rising, is it going to start like this? Is it going like this? Or do sunrise go up gradually? You're at the height of the day, and now it's about to be sunset. What we just accomplished, two things, was working on storytelling while also using dynamics to work on your storytelling while also working on scales, right? Which is also overall working on the artistry behind it so that your technique can become better. Also, when you're doing scales and things like this, it can become very repetitive and not conducive to your growth as a pianist if you're just doing your scales like this. If you practice your scales and rhythms with strong fingers, your technique, your fingers build the muscle memory needed so that you can eventually follow, right? And doing also understanding finger flicks under and different things like that. There's so many tricks to the trade to help you become a better pianist. Of course, technique wise, but also overall, it's all about your artistry. So thank you so much for tuning in for a new episode of Cliff's Corner. This was me using my own COPET method, me showing you exactly how this thing works. Composer-oriented piano expression technique method to help classical pianists and pianists in general improvise and get whatever storytelling that they hear here and here out into the instrument. If anybody is interested, please join the free school, my free school community. It's called Cliff Keys, free edition. I have a whole bunch of hosts, a whole bunch of stuff in there for pianists looking to get better. Head to the link in the description and join today. I love y'all. Take care. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is another episode of Cliff's Corner. We are gone. Yes, sir.